quick tip here when you're installing the coilovers. Me personally, I like putting a little bit of grease. This is a sleeve that goes inside the knuckle, and then the coilover goes inside the sleeve, okay? So me personally, what I like doing is putting grease, like I said, on the outside of the sleeve and on the inside. Some coilovers don't have a sleeve, so you just apply grease either to the knuckle or to the coilover. Just not a lot, so it's not too messy, but just enough so you block the elements from corroding the aluminum. Basically what I'm doing is blocking contact with oxygen. Oxygen carries moisture, and that moisture, you all know what happens when moisture meets any metal part, aluminum, whatever it is. Again, just a tiny coat, as you can see. You can barely see the grease, but you know it's there, and you know it's going to protect it and make somebody else's life easier when they're removing this. That's it. Now I just got to do the same thing to the coilover, put it back in, and we're good. So another thing that's important here when you're doing coilovers, you have to preload the suspension, meaning you have to loosen the lower control arms because the bushing in a certain position, which is higher when it's stock, and once you lower the car, those bushings need more travel. So you have to loosen them up, and you have to preload the suspension again, meaning the arms is sitting like this, right, on stock. And once you do coilovers, they're gonna sit a little bit higher. So what's happening is you're twisting those bushings if you don't preload the suspension. So again, you have to loosen the bolts holding the lower control arms, jack it up as much as you can until it comes out of the jack stand. So you know your strut is all the way compressed and the weight of the car is on top of that wheel, and then you torque it back up. This way you're putting the lower control arms in the position that's supposed to be when the car is lower. If you don't do that, eventually those bushings are going to crack and you're going to start hearing noises, and drivability is not going to be the same. You're going to have to play because those bushings eventually are going to be torn. So let's continue moving. Unfortunately, the auxiliary radiator for the heat exchanger, we only got one. The customer thought that he came two in the box, but he only came with one in the box. So unfortunately, we're not going to be doing the heater exchanger. We're just going to be doing the transmission cooler for now until he gets the second one, so we can do both at the same time, because it doesn't make sense doing just one because we're going to have to bleed the system again. So I just want to bleed the system once, and I rather do both at the same time. It makes more sense this way. Let's continue moving. All right, guys. So here we go with the transmission cooler already in place. It's a lot bigger than the stock one. It's twice as big because it's dual. So, and it's a little taller as well. So you get a lot more cooling with this thing. But now a tip, if you guys are doing this yourself, or if you have some skills, if you're a mechanic and you have access to repair instructions, the repair instructions is going to tell you to remove the fan, which is a lot more work than removing the bars up here. So you're just going to remove the covers, the bars, the front grille, and the bumper, and you have a lot more access. I like removing it this way, so I go in there and I clean all the leaves out as well. This is much easier than removing the fan and removing the auxiliary radiator, which is gonna, you're gonna have to bleed the system again, you're gonna have to refuel it, it's gonna make a mess. So it's easier to just take the bumper out and you access everything like you do here, instead of accessing it from the back. So I'd rather do it this way. It's much simpler, makes the job much easier. Yeah, so cooler's in place. Now we're gonna move on to installing. After I'm done with this, after I put everything together, I'm gonna go to the rear and do the coilovers in the rear. All right, guys, so it's a wrap for today's video. Coilovers is done, installed, transmission oil cooler is done. Like I said before, he's gonna come back for the auxiliary radiator because he only bought one and he needs two of them. So it makes no sense for me to replace just one. We have to replace them both because I have to bleed the coolant system, and I only want to do it once and save him some money as well. I'm not gonna make him pay for bleeding the coolant system, adding coolant to the car, and basically you're doing the job twice. So he's gonna come back for that. The car sits a little high right now, but it's gonna settle once it settles and we get the alignment done, he drives for a little bit and the car sits where it has to be, we're gonna be adjusting it again, see how he likes it. If he wants to drop it more, raise it. I don't think he's gonna want to rise the car a little bit more, but probably drop. But it sits really nice. This is pretty much stock, okay, a little lower than stock, but it's gonna handle a lot better. And like I say, once we get the alignment done, we're gonna drop it again and adjust to whatever he likes. But that's it. Thanks for watching the video again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.